So how do you know if you're in a dysfunctional relationship, or if you're dating somebody that's maybe controlling or narcissistic or just another codependent? Hi, I'm Coach Kathleen with Phoenix Rising. So one of the patterns that I have noticed with codependents, but a lot of times with narcissists, is they tend to rush the relationship. So a normal, healthy, functional relationship should progress at a normal rate, meaning you're taking the time to get to know each other, you're looking at any red flags, you're not ignoring red flags, and you're just letting things progress naturally, organically. Now, in a codependent relationship, because the need is so strong to be loved, to be valued, that we tend to rush that process. We want to get to the part where we're together, where we're a couple, where we're in love. And what we do, or what they do, is they progress that in an unnatural rate. So if you're with someone that is very quick to say, I love you, or very quick to say, let's be in a committed relationship and let's move things forward. Like, for instance, in my situation, my husband proposed like in a matter of months, and we were married within 6 months, which obviously was not the best choice. I hardly knew him then, because as a narcissist, he was showing his best self. He was showing his false self. There was a lot of love bombing and a lot of trying to engage with me emotionally to kind of trap me in a false sense of being loved and being almost worshipped with the love bombing. And so things progressed very, very quickly. And at the time I knew it felt pretty rushed, but he always had a good explanation for it. Every time I would challenge something, there was a good reason behind it. So I didn't really question it too much. So when you're in this relationship, if you're ignoring red flags, if they've already shown a sign that they're overly jealous, that they're controlling, if they are attempting already to potentially isolate you from friends and family. They may say something like, oh, I don't think your sister likes me. She doesn't understand me. You're the only one that truly understands me, that truly gets me. I don't know what I would do without you. I've got to have you in my life. That kind of thing. They're guilt tripping you. But they're using the family, the sister in this case, it's kind of as a weapon against you, to get you to feel sorry for them, to want to defend them, to want to stand up for them, to want to make their case. And so when he starts saying that your friends or family don't like him, eventually he's going to start pushing you to not spend time with him, not to be around them. And it may very well be that that sister is raising the red flags, that she's saying, hey, wait a minute. I don't like what he said there. I don't like how he acts when he's around you. And I don't like how you act when you're around him, kind of a thing. Typically, family and friends that are close to you can start seeing those red flags before you do. And they sometimes will call those things out. And if you mention that or talk to the boyfriend or whoever about it, then they're going to get on the defensive and know, okay, that person's a threat. I'm going to need to cut them out. So they start their campaign to alienate you against anyone that might protect you or help you look rationally at the situation. So in this scenario, this other person, it may be a woman, it may be a man, but they're going to push the relationship at an unnatural rate to try and get you really committed quickly, a lot of times that's what they talk about, baby trapping. They try to get you pregnant, so that once they get you pregnant, they know, they own you, that you're gonna stay with them for the sake of the child. And that's when the white gloves come off. And it may not be that they're pushing you to marry them. It may be just that they're pushing you to move in with them, or they're pushing you to be very exclusive with them, where they feel like they have enough control over you that they can start pushing away these other relationships that you have that might be safety for you. They want to have you all to themselves so they can completely control you. And so these are very concerning things that you need to, step back and look at. So in my case, when we announced we were getting married, like after, 2 months of dating, 3 months of dating, friends and family were a little concerned, and they were like, wait a minute, this is moving pretty fast. So if someone tells you, hey, this is moving fast, maybe take a beat. Just take a pause and start thinking about it. Because when we're in denial about those red flags, we're not helping ourselves, and we're certainly not, helping our situation. So think about this. Your family and your friends typically, hopefully, are the ones that know you and love you the most. So they want you to be happy. They want you to see you in a good, healthy relationship, hopefully. So if they're expressing concern, you're going to want to pay attention to that. Now, if you're in a dysfunctional family, they may or may not, like, my poor mother, God love her, bless her heart, just loved my ex-husband, thought he was everything, but she didn't know the real him. And so, and I didn't share a whole lot because, we protect our abusers when we're in those kind of situations. We don't tell our family the truth about what's really going on. But she just loved him. She didn't think it was too fast. She thought, oh, what a wonderful love story. How romantic. He's so in love with her. He wants to marry her right away. No, that was a control technique. So we have to be honest with ourselves and try to identify these types of things. So when they're rushing this relationship, that's a way to get control. They want to ensnare you. They want to get you so emotionally engaged that you can't leave them. And a lot of times with men, they will try to get women to sleep with them very, very quickly before the woman is really comfortable with that, because they know that for women, typically, sex often is emotional. They make those emotional ties once they become intimate with somebody. And they know that, and they use that as a way, again, to get them so emotionally engaged that they feel bound to them, okay? But what happens is, a lot of times, if it's a narcissist in particular, but even with just an abuser that may not necessarily be narcissistic, there is an intermittent cycle of emotional abuse. So they may have love bombed you in the beginning and you loved it. There was such a high, thinking this person loved you so much. You were their world. They treated you like a princess. And then over time, they started to withdraw. They would pull back emotionally. Maybe they would start verbally abusing you, tearing you down, just being very ugly, nasty, or just even emotionally withdrawing. They've just detached from you emotionally. So you're left, seeking and pulling and grasping and clinging, trying to get back to that point where you felt loved, where you felt cherished. But the reality is that was never real. So all these things we're trying to do, we'll knock ourselves out, bend over backwards, kill ourselves to try to make them happy, to try and please them, to try and figure out what's the formula to make them happy with me again. And so it's just this never-ending cycle. And it's just that intermittent. And then right about the time you start to give up and think, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, they will give you that little crumb. You've heard that term, breadcrumbing. They'll give you a little crumb of kindness. They'll show you a little bit of affection, just enough for you to think, oh, okay, wait, maybe we're going to go back to the way it was. Maybe he's really changed, or maybe he's, understood now that he loves me. He wants to cherish me like he did before. And so you're just so hopeful that it gets back to that point. But sadly, it is short-lived. So you go through this continuous cycle, but the cycle of the withdrawal, emotional withdrawal, the verbal abuse becomes longer and longer, and those crumbs of kindness become less and less frequent and last less amount of time. So until it gets to the point where you're just really being beaten down. There's very little left of the kindness there. So one of the red flags to look for is there is no reason to rush a relationship. There's no reason to push for a relationship like that, because a normal, healthy relationship, there's certain steps of progression, right? You kind of get to know each other, because you can't love somebody unless you get to know them. You can't get to know them unless you spend some time with them. So you're spending some time with them, you're getting to know them, you're looking for red flags, you're looking for incompatibilities or compatibilities, you're looking to see what you have in common. And there's a lot of things you can look for. Like, for instance, how do they handle conflict? How do you handle conflict? Is it compatible? How do they manage their money? Right? So are they irresponsible with money? Do they overspend? There's just so many things that go into a relationship that when we're getting love bombed, we can't even think about. So how do they, how do they treat their family? What kind of family dynamic is it? Is it is it hard for them to keep a job? What's their work history? Are they committed to their job? Are they, there's just things to look for. If it's somebody who's been hop from job to job and loses jobs constantly or isn't working, those can be red flags too, because there might be emotional issues, relational issues that are at play there that they are not willing to address themselves. So these little clues are there to look at. But if they can latch on to you as an empathetic codependent who wants to rescue everybody and keep the peace and be a people pleaser, they would love to get a hold of you. And these are some of the tactics that they use to do it. And you have to be aware too that if at some point you call them out and say, look, enough of this, you're not treating me very well, you're not doing, and they'll say something like, oh, I guess I'm just the worst husband in the world, I guess, I can't take care of you, and I can't. We instantly then jump into empath mode, into savior mode. We got to rescue the situation. So, oh no, you're a wonderful husband, or you're a wonderful partner. Oh no, and we start working to build them up. And the actual true issue that was the problem in the first place never gets addressed. So these are red flags that you should be looking for in that relationship to see, okay, this is either a codependent person, a potential abuser, or a narcissist, okay? So when your emotions are minimized, downplayed, if you're told that you're too emotional, if someone tells you you're too emotional, or you are too dramatic, or oh, you're overreacting, those are red flags for me. Someone doesn't get to regulate my emotions. They don't get to tell me how I can and can't feel, right? So when you hear those kinds of things, that should be a red flag too. So how do you know you're dating a codependent, an abuser, or a narcissist? These are some of the things that you can look for, and hopefully you are self-aware enough to walk away, to say, nope, I'm seeing the red flags, not falling for it, and then you can spare yourself the heartache of jumping into that relationship too soon, and it turns out to be not a healthy, functional relationship. Because I got to be honest, I don't see a lot of healthy, functional relationships that started this way, that they just jumped into it quick or got married quick and it actually worked out. And even though they may have stayed married, it wasn't a functional relationship. It may have been an abusive relationship, may have been a codependent relationship, that kind of a thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because they stayed together that it was a healthy relationship, right? So those are some things to think about.